Hi everyone, I'm Miss Karen at Adams Memorial Library, and I'm here today with our library friends, Dandelion and Rosie and Bryony and Diantha, and this week they chose books about Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers for me to share with you because Mr. Rogers' birthday is coming up on March 20th, so our library friends thought it would be a good idea to highlight some of the Mr. Rogers books we have at the library for this week's book report. So let me tell you what we've got for you this week. We have You Are My Friend, the story of Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood, which was written by Aimee Reed and illustrated by Matt Phelan. This one's called Hello Neighbor, the Kind and Caring World of Mr. Rogers, and this was written and illustrated by Matthew Cordell. This one's called Fred's Big Feelings, the Life and Legacy of Mr. Rogers, and this one was written by Renauld, and the illustrations are by Brigette Barrager. And the last one is called Mr. Rogers' Gift of Music. And this one was written by Donna, and the illustrations are by Amanda Calatzis. So let me tell you a little bit more about these books. As you might know, Mr. Rogers filmed Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in Pittsburgh, and that's where he lived at the end of his life. But at the beginning of his life, he lived here in Latrobe. He was born in Latrobe. He graduated from Latrobe High School. So Latrobe was his first neighborhood. And we at the library, all our library friends are really happy that Mr. Rogers grew up in our neighborhood. And this first book was written and illustrated by some other people who really admire Mr. Rogers. So they did the story about him. And it talks about when he was little, he wasn't well. He had asthma. He had to stay in bed. He had to stay indoors a lot. And that may have been when he started making puppets and playing with puppets. And when he was little, the other kids weren't always nice to him. And so that made him feel bad, like it would make anybody feel bad. But his mother always told him, anytime that something bad happens, something goes wrong, look for the helpers. There's always somebody around who's trying to help. And so Mr. Rogers always remembered that, even when he grew up. And another thing he always remembered was what his grandfather told him. His grandfather said that little Fred Rogers told little Fred Rogers that he was special just because he was him. And Mr. Rogers never forgot that either. So when he got older and he started his TV show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he wanted to remind everybody that they were special just for being them. So you just check this book out from the library. You can read a little bit more about that and about Mr. Rogers, as you can with this one. In this book, Hello Neighbor, it starts out with something you might recognize if you ever watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. There, that looks like his house. Here's a picture of Mr. Rogers playing the piano. He loved music, and he's a very, very, very good piano player. So is his wife, Mrs. Rogers, Joanne Rogers. This story starts out, welcome to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But, you see a hand moving something in the neighborhood? That's because this is a picture of the model Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood from the WQED studio in Pittsburgh, where he filmed his show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And so here's a picture of the big set where he would come in from his porch and he'd go inside, and then he would stop and he would change his shoes. He would put on his sneakers. He would take off his jacket. He would start off with suit jacket, and then he would put on his sweater whenever he got to his house in the neighborhood. And it talks about some of the same kind of things. It says Mr. Rogers grew up near Pittsburgh, but that would be in Latrobe. He liked to make music. He made music with his little sister Elaine. His grandmother got him a big grand piano because he was such a good piano player. And then as he got older, he saw this new television that people were watching, but he didn't really like the television shows for children because often they had people being mean to each other, throwing pies at each other, making fun of each other. So Mr. Rogers decided that he wanted to do a TV show where people were nice to each other, people were kind to each other, and it was a neighborhood. And so he learned how to be on a television show, and eventually he was. He started Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and it was filmed right in Pittsburgh. And because he loved music, he sang songs too. He'd sing things like, "Let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?" And when he was on the show, he told us about lots of different things, like he found out how to make sneakers by going to a sneaker factory. Found out how to make crayons by going to a crayon factory. He found out how trumpets were made by going to a trumpet factory. He painted pictures with Eric Carle, the author and illustrator who did The Very Hungry Caterpillar. He listened to music by Yo-Yo Ma, who's a famous cello player. Here's a picture of Mr. Rogers listening to Yo-Yo Ma play the cello. And he took us to the land of make-believe, where there's King Friday the 13th and Queen Sarah Saturday and Daniel Tiger. And because we had Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, today we have Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. That was all thanks to Mr. Rogers. If you check this book out from the library, Hello Neighbor, you can read a little bit more things about Mr. Rogers' life. Now this next story focuses specifically on, it's called Fred's Big Feelings. So it talks about we all have big feelings, and Mr. Rogers understood that. So here's another drawing of the set. Here's a camera set up. Here's where Trolley would come by. Here's where Mr. Rogers' sweaters hung in the closet, where he'd come in and change. He'd sat down right on that bench. He'd put on his sneakers and put on his sweater, and he would get ready to welcome us to his neighborhood. But this book goes back to his childhood, again, when he had to stay inside. Said sometimes he felt lonely. When bullies were mean to him, sometimes he felt scared. But when he played the piano, sometimes the bad feelings turned into good feelings and happy feelings. He started to feel better. Again, it talks about how he started learning about children's programming and then started his own program. And here he is with Mr. McFeely. And the story says on the show, he talked about different feelings too. Like sometimes he was feeling playful. He took juggling lessons. Sometimes he's feeling sad. When one of his fish died, he was very sad. Mr. Rogers felt sad. Sometimes he felt welcoming when he invited Officer Clemens to cool off on a hot day in the pool. And sometimes he felt joyful when he got to dance with dancer Ying Lee, when he got to listen to music from Yo-Yo Ma playing the cello, or Wynton Marsalis playing the trumpet. And sometimes he felt joyful when he could even meet a friend who wasn't human. He met Coco the gorilla. So always Mr. Rogers told us it was okay to have lots of feelings, because he had lots of feelings too. And this last story I really like because it talks specifically about his music. And again, talks about all the songs that he did. Like It's a Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood. So here he is. Sometimes he was playing the piano and he felt mad, then he could really pound on the keys and just bang on the keys till he started feeling less mad. And then he started feeling happier. Then he started playing happier music and feeling happy again. So music is a good way to express feelings. And people everywhere loved his music. Sometimes people would even sing to Mr. Rogers if they saw him somewhere. One time he was riding the subway and the people in the subway car saw Mr. Rogers there and they started singing to him the songs that he sang for us. So they could sing, "It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor." And again, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? And songs like "It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside." So all the songs he sang to us, other people enjoy now too. And he left us gift of his show and the gift of his songs. So if you are interested in reading more about Mr. Rogers, you can come to the library and check out any of these books. We'll have them in the children's room, or you can always reserve them. And you can have them sent to another library or pick them up at Adams through curbside service. But thank you very much for watching. Have a happy birthday to Mr. Rogers Day on February 20th. And my friends and I will see you later with some more books. Thank you, everybody. Bye.